This is TechCrunch.
On a September morning in 2024, two Jonathan Cohens, one from the Rockaways in Queens, the other from London, stood in an empty 15,000-square-foot parking garage near Hudson Yards in New York City. As they walked over chipped yellow lines, they explained how the space would help Joco, their shared e-bike startup for delivery workers, continue to scale. We're removing all the cars, and it's going to be fully dedicated to electric two-wheelers, three-wheelers, four-wheelers, and charging light electric vehicles, New York Cohen, Joco's chief growth officer, told TechCrunch, beaming. The two paced the cavernous lot, interrupting each other like a married couple telling a story to friends as they set the scene of a place that would be as much about utility as community. A mechanic workshop towards the back, several rooms with charging cabinets so riders could swap out e-bike batteries, docking stations, two bathrooms. London Cohen, Joco's CEO, pointed towards an area not far from the front that would be designated for a Joco concierge service where delivery riders could check in, pick up supplies, and take a breather from the chaos of the city. Think about it like a gas station for delivery riders, New York Cohen added. They'll use it as a place to just relax and take a break. The concept of providing gig workers with a pit stop, a place to use the bathroom, charge their phones, and even pray, isn't new to Joco, which already offers this service in partnership with Grubhub at two locations in Alphabet City and Midtown West. And after the business almost died several times in its first year, such duties of care to the customer are a big reason why Joco is still alive today. Joco, named after its two co-founders who met at Columbia Business School in 2017, launched in 2021 in New York City with a mission to compete against Lyft-owned City Bike with shared docked e-bikes. The Cohens thought that placing Joco's docking stations on private property would allow them to avoid both City Bike's territory and the city's regulatory eye. They were wrong. The New York City Department of Transportation promptly sued Joco for operating a bike share without prior authorization from the agency, forcing the startup to pivot away from offering consumer rides towards last-mile delivery. Now, Joco serves both gig workers who rent e-bikes at daily or weekly rates and enterprise customers that order dedicated fleets from the startup. Joco counts about 18 enterprise customers, including Grubhub, Reef, Fresh Direct, and other large logistics companies across New York, Chicago, and Miami. As part of its B2B package, Joco also provides fleet management technology, servicing and maintenance, docking stations, and, increasingly, battery charging cabinets. Those cabinets, which Joco says are FDNY approved, are a growing vertical for the startup, particularly in New York City, where battery fires have run rampant due to unsafe charging practices, leading many buildings to ban e-bikes and e-scooters. Joco has sold roughly 100 battery cabinets to residential buildings, like those owned by related companies and last-mile logistics companies like Travis Kalanick's Cloud Kitchens across the country with plans for international expansion. The Cohens say the DOT's pushback was a blessing in disguise that helped them become profitable. Not EBITDA profitable, net profitable with real salaries, despite having raised only $7.5 million in VC money. Other similar hardware-as-a-service startups have raised many millions, even billions more in venture capital, and just as many have gone under due to the high capex, low-margin nature of the business. It forced us to focus, London Cohen told TechCrunch. That's one lesson that we got to faster than we should have inadvertently. The other lesson we learned is to really pay attention to the customer because we go crazy for our customers. Just this Sunday, we had a guy whose bike broke down in Queens, and I rented a car. I went there, I picked up his bike, and I brought him back to another station in Manhattan. When our customers see that, they freak out, and they tell everyone else, he continued. We do unusual things for the customers, stuff they wouldn't expect. London Cohen noted that on its face, some of these decisions don't necessarily make financial sense, but have created customer loyalty. The concierge service, which involves having several staffers on site to help address delivery riders' needs, is an example. Joco also hands out free bike helmets, visibility vests, hand warmers, and through the partnership with Grubhub, free temperature-controlled backpacks. There are other startups that offer couriers e-bike rentals. Wiz and Zumo come to mind, but those offer longer-term rentals where the delivery worker has to store the bike, lock it up, and charge the battery. With Joco, gig workers can access high-quality e-bikes at a reasonable cost, and they never have to worry about locking them up or carrying them upstairs. Riders can lock and unlock the bikes with an app, a small but effective convenience when making deliveries all day. We make a lot more money per bike than another company where you rent the bike and take it home for a month because we have multiple people using the same vehicle, and they're delivering around the clock, Jonathan Cohens said, noting that the life cycle of the new Segway bikes is 3 to 5 years. There also appears to be a quiet community among Joco riders. Workers picking up bikes from the Alphabet City concierge can be seen chatting and fist-bumping, and when they catch another Joco rider in the streets, they often wave and say hello to each other. Joco's customer obsession is clearly manifesting in growth. That empty parking garage? Flash forward 2 months later, and it is now almost open for business, with 1,000 new Segway e-bikes lined up and another 1,000 on the way. That location is one of almost 50 docking stations, large and small, accessible to couriers across the city. And the Cohens say that's still not enough to meet the demand for their service. Every one of our vehicles is getting used every single day, New York Cohens said, noting that Joco has spent $0 on marketing since launching. He says the team has managed to grow the company's gig worker vertical double digits every month, mainly through word of mouth. That's one of the Cohens' tips for early-stage founders. Don't blow your money on marketing too early in an attempt to garner attention and raise capital. Just put your head down and focus on execution. That's how the two said they got to where they are today, where cash flow is funding their expansion rather than venture money. To them, founder mode is essential because it means always being available to roll up your sleeves, even on Thanksgiving and Christmas or at 3 in the morning. Like when we switched from the old Acton bikes to these Segway bikes, it was a full all-nighter, New York Cohens said. Joco still runs a lean ship with about 7 people on the corporate team. In total, they have about 50 employees across maintenance, call center, operations, warehouse management, software, and supply chain. And many of those teams are outsourced to employees outside of the U.S., which the co-founders say saves them money as they work to grow the business. They also hire fractional employees, like their CFO, a good strategy for early-stage startups that want to bring on a seasoned C-suite executive on a part-time basis. That financial prudence is what will help Joco to scale in 2025. The founders said their plans for near-term growth comes from cash on hand and potentially some debt, but that they don't intend to raise more equity. Their goal for the next year is to grow Joco's gig worker fleet from 3,000 today to 10,000 by the end of 2025 and build out new docking stations in Brooklyn and Queens. Joco also wants to get 1,000 battery charging cabinets in buildings and double its B2B footprint in the next 13 months, in part by bringing more four-wheeler cargo bikes to its lineup. And Joco has some tailwinds at its back, especially in New York City, where a congestion pricing plan is set to go into effect in January. There will be more opportunities for us to get garage space at better prices, New York Cohens said. You don't need a 2-ton vehicle for short delivery commutes. And so, the more we can do to build infrastructure and the tech, the more convenient it will be for the riders.